morning to the beautiful souls who dare to wake up with hope in their hearts and dreams in their eyes. They say success isn't a destination, it's a series of small, intentional steps. It begins not in grand gestures or loud victories, but in the quiet moments just after sunrise, when the world is still stretching and yawning, and your soul is deciding what kind of day it will have. Let me walk you through 6 morning habits that don't just belong to the successful, they belong to the soulful, the courageous, and the unshakably resilient. Habit number 1, waking up early to lead the day, not chase it. Sounds simple, almost too ordinary, but that's the trick, isn't it? The most powerful habits are rarely loud, they don't demand attention, they quietly shape empires. When you wake up early, before the noise starts, before the phones start buzzing, the responsibilities start yelling, and the clock starts ticking, you give yourself the most precious gift. Time that's yours. Not borrowed, not owed, not scheduled. Just yours. That sacred slice of the morning, when the sky is still painted with shades of hope and silence, is when leaders are made, not because they have to, but because they choose to show up for themselves before showing up for the world. There's a kind of magic in those early hours. The air is different. It carries clarity like the fog hasn't settled in yet. The mind, unburdened by the events of the day, can breathe. It can think clearly, creatively, freely. You're not waking up into chaos. You're waking up into possibility. Waking up early isn't just about productivity. It's about priority. It's you saying, my peace, my purpose, my presence matter enough to be the first thing I focus on. It's not a punishment, it's a privilege. While the rest of the world is still tangled in dreams or snoozing alarms, you're already walking toward yours. And it's not about perfection. Some mornings the bed feels like heaven. Some mornings the world feels heavy. But those who rise anyway, they build a kind of discipline that echoes into every area of life. They become the kind of people who don't wait for motivation. They move with intention. They don't hit snooze on the alarm or on their life. The most successful people, whether they're artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, or change makers, often speak of their mornings like a secret weapon. It's not because they're superhuman. It's because they've decided that the world doesn't get to write the first chapter of their day. They do. They write it with stillness, with prayer, with planning, with silence, with movement, with whatever centers them. And waking up early doesn't mean logging into chaos sooner. It's not waking up to emails or meetings or scrolling through a digital void. It's waking up to reconnect with self, with breath, with meaning. It's having the time to sit with your thoughts before the world tells you what to think, to drink your tea slowly, to read something that fills you, to move your body not out of obligation but reverence. There's a rhythm that early risers fall into, not rushed, not reactive, but grounded. They start their day like a steady drumbeat. They move with clarity while others scramble through the morning fog. That clarity doesn't just make them productive, it makes them powerful because they are not just running the day, they're designing it. Waking up early also whispers a message to the subconscious. I matter enough to rise for it. That's not just discipline, that's self-respect. That's not just ambition, that's alignment. When you take the first hour of the day for yourself, you take back control from the chaos. You tell life, I will not be a passenger today, I will drive. Habit number 2, practice gratitude to ground your soul, is not just a ritual, it's a rebellion. In a world constantly whispering that you need more, be more, chase more, gratitude says, I have enough. I am enough right here, right now. It is the soft armor worn by the emotionally resilient, the unshaken, and the quietly successful. Gratitude isn't some cheesy quote slapped on a coffee mug. It's a mindset, a perspective, a conscious choice to look at what's present instead of what's missing. It's a moment taken often in silence where you sit with your breath and acknowledge the things you'd otherwise take for granted. The bed you woke up in, the legs that carried you out of it, the roof above your head, the chance to try again. Gratitude pulls you out of the storm and plants your feet on the ground, steady and unshakable. The most successful people don't wait for extraordinary moments to feel thankful. They find something sacred in the ordinary. Their morning might start with a journal entry listing 3 things they're grateful for. Or maybe it's just a quiet thought whispered into the stillness. Either way, they ground themselves before the chaos can sweep them away. And that grounding, it changes everything. Gratitude doesn't eliminate pain. It just puts it in perspective. It doesn't deny the hard stuff. It simply reminds you that the hard stuff isn't all there is. It creates a lens through which the world starts to look a little softer, a little kinder. It transforms mornings from mechanical routines into sacred rituals. And it's not about being blindly positive. That's not gratitude. Real gratitude coexists with grief, with stress, with pressure. It doesn't demand you smile through the struggle. It simply reminds you that even in the midst of it all, there's still something good, something worth holding on to. Maybe it's your breath, maybe it's a sunrise, maybe it's the memory of someone who once believed in you. Successful people understand this. Energy flows where attention goes. And when your attention is constantly on what's lacking, what's broken, what's missing, your energy drains like a leaking tap. But when your attention shifts to what's working, to what's beautiful, to what's true, you fill yourself back up. You start the day from a place of fullness, not frustration. Gratitude also builds humility. When you begin your day acknowledging what's been given to you, you carry less ego and more grace. You don't walk into rooms trying to prove your worth. You walk in knowing it. That self-awareness is magnetic. It draws the right people, the right opportunities, the right energy toward you, not because you're shouting your value, but because you're quietly owning it. There's something deeply human about gratitude. It strips away the performance and brings you back to the essence. It doesn't care how much is in your bank account, how many followers you have, or how busy your calendar looks. Gratitude is raw. It's personal. It's yours. And when you build it into your mornings, you don't just start the day differently. You start to live differently. Habit number 2 isn't about being perfect, happy, or eternally content. It's about becoming aware of what is here, what is enough, what is already a blessing. And in that awareness, the soul finds its balance. It finds its footing. It stands a little taller, a little stronger, a little more certain that no matter what the day brings, it's already starting from a place of abundance. Habit number 3, move your body to generate energy, is often misunderstood. People think it's about looking good, losing weight, chasing some aesthetic ideal. But the truth is far deeper, far more spiritual than physical. Movement is not just an act of fitness. It's an act of awakening. It's the moment when the body reminds the mind, I'm still here. I still work. I still matter. Successful people don't move their bodies every morning because they're obsessed with perfection. They move because they understand that energy doesn't come from sitting around waiting for motivation to strike. Energy is something you create, something you summon. And the most direct way to do that, move, stretch, walk, dance, breathe. Let your body come alive before the world puts its weight on your shoulders. It doesn't have to be a full workout or an intense gym session. It can be 10 minutes of stretching on the floor, a slow walk in the early morning light, a few deep breaths paired with simple movements, but it must be intentional. It must be mindful, because in those early moments, movement becomes more than exercise. It becomes a conversation between you and your body. There's a kind of magic that happens when blood starts flowing, when your spine stretches, when your heartbeat gently rises, your brain gets sharper, your emotions feel lighter, your focus locks in, the fog lifts. It's as if the entire system gets rebooted, reminding you that you're not just a thinker trapped in a head, you're a living, breathing organism. And when the body moves, the mind follows. Successful people know that discipline begins in the body. They know that if they can push through the resistance of getting up, showing up, and moving, even just a little, they can push through a meeting, a challenge, a crisis. They build physical resilience not just for strength, but for stamina. Stamina to endure long days, hard conversations, unexpected failures. They don't move because life is easy. They move so they're strong enough when it's not. Movement also creates momentum. Think about it. How many days have started with sluggishness only to spiral into complete disarray? But on the days you start with movement, even the smallest kind, your entire rhythm shifts. You walk into the day with a sense of control. You're not reacting, you're initiating. You're not dragging your body through the day, you're leading it. There's also something sacred about honoring the body in the morning. The world teaches us to ignore our bodies unless something is wrong. But success isn't built on ignoring. It's built on listening. Listening to what hurts, what needs care, what needs strength. That self-respect translates. It shows up in posture, in presence, in how you walk into rooms and how you hold space for yourself. People who move their bodies in the morning aren't just working out. They're waking up. They're shaking off yesterday's doubt, yesterday's tension, yesterday's noise. They're creating space for new ideas, new confidence, new energy. It becomes a ritual, not of vanity, but of vitality. A promise to themselves, I will not carry a tired soul in a neglected body. Habit number 3 is a commitment to yourself. A decision to start the day not from stillness, but from strength. Not from exhaustion, but from intention. It's not about how far you run or how much you lift. It's about how present you are in the movement. How fully you arrive in your body before you arrive in your responsibility. Habit number 4, feed your mind before the world does. It's about taking ownership of the very first thoughts that enter your head in the morning. Before the headline starts screaming, before your phone starts buzzing, before social media begins its endless scroll of noise and distraction, there is a quiet golden moment. That moment belongs to you, and what you put into your mind in that moment often defines how the rest of your day will unfold. Successful people are not just people with strong bodies or big dreams. They're people with nourished minds. Minds that are clear, focused, and trained to think, not just react. They understand that your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant, water, and nurture first thing in the morning is what will grow throughout the day. If you feed it chaos, it will echo chaos. But if you feed it clarity, calm, and inspiration, it will build a day rooted in strength. Reading a single page from a powerful book, listening to a short podcast that aligns with your values, writing a few thoughts in a journal. These are not small things. These are daily doses of mental nutrition. They are how leaders, thinkers, and creators protect their mental space before the world tries to rent it for free. They don't wait to see what the world throws at them. They set the tone first. They choose the soundtrack instead of dancing to someone else's. The morning is a blank slate, and the first thoughts you entertain are like ink. They leave a mark. The successful don't start their day checking messages or diving into headlines. They know that's like walking out into a storm without an umbrella. Instead, they center themselves with intention. They don't just ask what's happening in the world. They ask, what do I want happening in me? Feeding the mind is also about protecting it. Not everything deserves space in your thoughts. Not every opinion deserves your energy. And the earlier you decide that in the day, the more focused and calm your entire schedule becomes. You begin to notice the difference between mental noise and mental nourishment. You begin to curate your mind the way an artist curates a gallery. Intentionally, carefully, beautiful. Even 5 minutes of conscious mental input can shift your internal state. You might read a line that stays with you all day, guiding your decisions like a compass. You might hear a story that reminds you of your own strength. You might write down a thought that clears the fog you didn't know was there. These are not accidents. They are outcomes of choosing to feed your mind with purpose. This habit also builds mental resilience. When your day starts with grounded thinking, you're better equipped to handle challenges. You respond instead of react. You think deeper instead of louder. You don't get swept away in panic or comparison because your mind has already been rooted in something stronger, something more solid than the ever-changing winds of the outside world. Habit number 4 is about respecting the mind enough to nourish it before exposing it to the noise. It's about realizing that your first thoughts are sacred and they don't belong to algorithms or breaking news. They belong to your growth, your peace, your purpose. When you wake up and feed your mind with wisdom, intention, and clarity, you don't just start the day, you shape it. You lead it. You elevate it. Habit number 5, set intentions, not just tasks, is what separates people who go through the day from those who grow through the day. There's a big difference between being busy and being intentional. Anyone can make a to-do list. Anyone can fill their hours with activities, but it takes clarity, presence, and purpose to decide who you want to be before deciding what you want to do. Successful people know that productivity without purpose is just motion. It feels like progress, but it often leads nowhere meaningful. That's why they don't just start their mornings by asking what needs to get done. They ask, what kind of energy do I want to bring to what I do today? That subtle shift changes everything. Because when you start with intention, your actions become aligned. You're not just doing things, you're doing the right things in the right way with the right mindset. Setting an intention is like calibrating a compass. It's a quiet internal check-in where you ask, what do I want to feel today? Maybe it's focus, maybe it's patience, maybe it's courage. Whatever the answer, that one word becomes your anchor. So when the distractions come, when the challenges knock, when people test your peace, you already know how to respond because you decided before the chaos. You decided before the chaos, but because that chaos, you decided before the chaos, you already know how to respond because you decided before the chaos. Intentions are not goals. Goals are destinations. Intentions are the way you walk the path. A goal might be to finish a report or study for an exam, but an intention is to approach it with calm and confidence. A goal might be to meet someone or run an errand, but an intention is to be present while doing it. This mindset doesn't just make you more effective, it makes you more fulfilled because you're not just checking boxes, you're showing up with purpose. People who live with intention are easier to trust, easier to follow, easier to believe in, not because they have everything figured out, but because they carry a quiet clarity. They don't spin in circles. They move forward. They don't crumble at the first sign of pressure. They go back to the intention they set that morning and draw strength from it. It becomes their internal GPS, gently steering them when the road gets messy. Even just a few minutes in the morning to breathe breathe, reflect, and ask, what kind of person do I want to be today, can shift your entire experience. It takes you out of autopilot and into awareness. You start noticing your tone, your pace, your reactions. You become less reactive, more proactive, less scattered, more centered. This habit also cultivates emotional maturity. Instead of letting the day dictate your mood, you take responsibility for your own energy. You become someone who walks into rooms and shifts the atmosphere, not because you're loud or flashy, but because you're grounded. That kind of presence isn't born from a to-do list. It's born from intentional living. Habit number 5 isn't about rejecting structure or abandoning goals. It's about elevating them. It's about making sure your tasks serve your values, not just your calendar. It's the quiet act of rebellion in a world that glorifies hustle without heart. When you wake up and set an intention, you're not just planning your day, you're declaring who you are and who you're becoming. Habit number 6, speak to yourself with compassion, is not soft, weak, or indulgent. It's strength in its purest form. In a world that constantly demands more, critiques loudly, and rarely pauses to say, you're doing okay, it takes courage to be kind to yourself, especially in the morning when yesterday's regrets or today's expectations try to flood your mind. What you say to yourself can either build you up or break you before the day even begins. Successful people have learned that self-talk is not just inner chatter, it's the script that programs your confidence, your decisions, and your energy. They don't stand in front of the mirror, nitpicking every flaw or replaying every failure. They use those first moments of the day to remind themselves of their strength, their progress, and their potential, not because they've never fallen short, but because they've chosen not to live in that space. There is a massive difference between holding yourself accountable and tearing yourself apart. Compassion doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means recognizing your humanity within those standards. It means saying, I could have done better, without following it up with, I'm a failure. It's the way you speak to a friend who's learning, not a criminal who's disappointed you. That morning voice, your anchor or your enemy. It's either a nurturing coach or a relentless critic. And successful people are intentional about choosing the former. They speak with the same tone to themselves that they would to someone they deeply respect, because they know that nobody thrives in an environment of constant criticism, not even from themselves. This habit creates resilience, the kind that doesn't break under pressure, but bends and bounces back. When your inner voice is rooted in compassion, failure doesn't define you, it teaches you. Mistakes don't humiliate you, they humble you. And setbacks don't shame you, they shape you. That kind of mindset is what turns ordinary mornings into fuel for extraordinary lives. The world will challenge you enough. People will misunderstand, overlook, and underestimate you. So your mind, especially at the start of the day, should be your sanctuary, not a war zone. And that sanctuary begins with language. The words you choose, even the ones you whisper under your breath, matter. I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm growing. These aren't just phrases. They're medicine. They're reminders. They're lifelines. Compassionate self-talk also opens the door to authenticity. You're no longer pretending to have it all together. You don't have to perform strength, you embody it. Because you know that true strength isn't about never struggling. It's about choosing grace in the struggle. It's about looking at your reflection in the morning, tired eyes and all, and saying, I'm still proud of you. This habit builds confidence from the inside out. Not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind that walks into a room and doesn't need validation. It radiates from someone who knows they are enough, not because someone else said so, but because they said so. It's rooted in a deep inner agreement that your worth is not up for debate every morning. Habit number 6 is a choice to stop being your own enemy and start becoming your own ally. It's deciding that the most important voice in your life, your own, will be one of support, not sabotage. When you speak to yourself with compassion, you create the kind of mental and emotional environment where growth becomes not only possible, but inevitable.
Beneath the stars we whisper dreams. A violin plays soft, it seems. The night unfolds its velvet wings. We dance on air like fancy things. A crescendo builds with every beat. Our hearts, they dance in perfect heat. The world is ours in silent screams. We're floating high on whispering dreams. Together we are one sweet song. The night won't be too late, too long. Our melody will carry on in every note where we belong. The orchestra, it swells to life. The strings, they cut the dark like a knife. Your voice an echo in my soul. In every verse we find the goal. Oh, violins, they cry so pure. In every touch we find the cure. Your hand in mine, the music flows. In whispered dreams, the magic grows. Together we are one sweet soul. The night won't be too